Welcome to Crashing Maya. I'm Alex, and today we'll be covering non-linear deformers. So to get started, I'm going to hold the spacebar, which will open up the hotbox. I'm going to go into Create Deformers and open up non-linear. And if we click this dashed line, we'll open up all of the deformers in the non-linear deformer menu. So let's just talk about what the deformers do, and then we can go over how to use them in in the real world. So here I have just a cylinder with some divisions on it. I'm going to apply the bend deformer, which creates this kind of looking thing here. And if we grab the curve, open up the inputs, click bend, grab the curvature, click the name curvature, and then middle mouse button drag, we can see what it does. It basically just bends our object. So we can make a torus this way. You can design a profile of a ring and then actually bend it into a ring. And you also have some options here. You have the low bound and you have the high bound. So basically, as you do this, you can see the high bound and the low bound will change how much the bend deformer bends your object. You can also scale the bend deformer. And of course, if you rotate, things will happen as well. And it can actually be a little unpredictable, so just be careful with that. Okay, so let's just undo that. So I'm going to delete the bend deformer handle, and we have our cylinder here. I'm going to use flare, and flare does exactly what it sounds like. So we have a Z and X and a Z. So you can see we can slide those, we can flare it out. If you select both, you can do them at the same time. So if you want to flare at the top out, or the bottom, and then the top, it does that. And as well, you have a low bound and a high bound. I don't use the flare that often, so it's not really that useful, I find. I'm going to skip sign because I just want to show you the next one we can use on a cylinder, and that's twist. And twist does exactly what it sounds like. It actually will twist our object. If we turn on wireframe and shade it, we can see what it does. There. So we can delete the twist handle, and our cylinder will snap back to the way it was. Squash. Same thing. Let's see. It will, do things like this. If you know exactly what you're trying to make, you can use this. But there are other ways to do it that I feel are easier and more interactive than this. So it's also one of those tools that I don't use often. And then I'll show you sine and wave, because those can't work on a cylinder. You need a plane to create those, or you need a larger object. It's hard to see it on a non-flat object. So if we grab the amplitude and change it, you see nothing really happens. Is because it's not rotated in the direction of the object. So if we rotate our sine 90 degrees, and then we'll change the amplitude, and you can see we can change this object. We can increase the wavelength, and wave does a very similar thing, but in radial form. Increase the amplitude. We have the wave. You can also scale the wave deformer. Now everything you see here you can animate. So if you find the kind of wave you want, you can use the offset and to kind of animate the wave. But you can also use these deformers in modeling. Let me show you. So the bend deformer is pretty easy. You can use it to make rings. You can use it actually to to bend anything. And I'm quickly going to show you how to make a quick ring shape. So I'm going to use a cube. I love starting my geometry, my models with cubes. I'm going to just quickly do this. I'm going to add height divisions. something like this, and maybe one division this way. So I'm going to scale this down, and then I'm going to select these vertices. I'm going to scale those in, select these, scale that, and scale this. Let's scale it back a little bit. Let's get the kind of curvature that I want. Then I'm going to select these vertices and just move them in like that. Select this, spread those out a little bit. Checking the shape. I'm going to delete the inside. I don't need it. Press 3 to preview the shape. If that's the shape you want and you're happy with it, you can leave it. I'm actually going to add some bevels, so I'm going to go in here, select, let's see, we'll do multiple, set 3 like this, like that, and then I'm going to delete these two. Turn off wireframe unshaded and turn off the grid that you want to see. I think that's going to work out nicely. I think it's a little thick, so I'm going to just do that. There. Okay, so now I'm going to scale this up. Something like this, I guess. Snap at the grid. I just want to have a nice, clean, even geo. I'm going to use the insert edge loop tool and drop some loops like this and add divisions. Let's do 26, 27. Whoops. Okay, we're back. Just had a little bit of a crash. No big deal. It actually saved our file, so make sure you save, because Maya does crash from time to time. So make sure you save often. So I'm going to set this to 29. Hopefully we don't crash again. Okay, and basically I'm trying to make sure that I have my divisions kind of based on the grid. It's not super important, but it gives me a little bit of peace of mind. So once I have this set up like this, I'm going to use my bend deformer to bend into place. So let's do it from perspective view. I'm going to hold spacebar, create deformers, non-linear bend. And if I apply some curvature to it, you can see it's not doing exactly what we want. So what we're going to do first is rotate it this way, put -90 in here, and then rotate it this way, and put 90 in there. And then I'm going to complete the whole curvature, basically putting 180 in there. And what's nice about this is that if we decide that, you know what, this ring is definitely too thick for the diameter, so I'm going to scale it together with, actually I'm going to scale it like this, adjust the geometry. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to scale the geometry to make it longer, to give it more space, and then I'm going to select this and scale that. So it's not as intuitive as it seems, but it'll work pretty well. So here are the steps again. So when you get to something like this, you want to change the diameter, but you want to keep the thickness, the shape of our profile. All you have to do first is scale our ring in this direction. Now the reason this works is because even though it's bent right now, and you think that if you scale it wouldn't it would actually just make it into an oval, that's because the scale is happening before the bend deformer happens. So if we set the bend deformer to 0, all we're doing is scaling it like this. So I'm going to go back, set the bend deformer to 180, and just give it some distance. I also want to actually scale it like this to make it a little thicker. Now I'm going to select the bend deformer and then scale it up. Now you can do some math to figure out exactly what you should set this to, but I'm just going to eyeball it. Basically I'm going to scale it until, zoom in a little bit, close, and scale it until I see that it's more or less touching. When I'm done, Shift Alt D, and then when I merge, click Merged, which will merge the vertices, and they're close enough that they will merge now. And there's our ring. So that's pretty easy. Let me show you how to use some of the other nonlinear deformers. So let's actually open up the deformers again. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to use the wave deformer. I actually use this a lot in modeling, and I'll show you what for. So if you're modeling something as simple as a screw, it might actually seem kind of a difficult thing to model because of the rounded head if you're making a Phillips screw or any other shape. But if you model it flat, it's much easier. So I'm going to make a cylinder with a subdivision axis of 16, because 16 divides into 4 very nicely and can give us nice clean quads. So I'm going to first add some loops. Insert edge loop tool, set it to multiple, let's do 3, and turn off autocomplete. And then if I just drag a selection over the center and then click, you can see it starts to add the loops. Hit enter, this will finish it. You can close this out. Alright, so now we can start adding our loops. Now, first thing, I'm going to drop a line like this, and then drop one from here to here. Then from here to here, and here to here. Okay, just going to hit merge to make sure the vertices here that intersected merged. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. Once that's done, I'm going to start cleaning this up a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the grid. It's easier for me to see what I'm doing. I'm going to double click this edge and this one and hit Control Delete. And I actually don't need this loop. Control Delete. And I'm going to get rid of this edge here and this one. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything here like this. Now I can go ahead and clean the rest of it up, but I don't need to because I'm going to extrude now, and I don't really need to clean this up because I'm not going to use it. So I'm going to click extrude, and first let's try offset. And sometimes offset works well, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it worked actually really well. So I'm happy with that. It gave us a nice bevel. So now, the reason I didn't need to clean the rest of it is because I'm going to select this, right click, invert selection, and hit delete. Now I'm just going to clean this up a little bit, and because it's our surface is flat, it doesn't matter how we move the points, so we can easily move things around and clean it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select these points here, hit R, and I'm going to reset the tool and show you what you can do with it. So by default, when you press R for scale, it will put the your pivot in between the objects. So in the center of the objects you have selected. But if you set your scale pivot to object, this is the original object we created, so if we go into object mode, we can see that the pivot for this object is in the center. Even if we select components, it will select the pivot on our original object and let us scale from that. So that way I can do things like this. Which normally would require me to manually change the pivot, which is kind of annoying. Okay. So for this, we actually will move the pivot. I'm going to set this to default. I'm going to hold D, press R, hold D, hold V, and then snap the pivot there. And just scale this out a little bit. Okay. Now I want to preserve the curvature here a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is we're going to insert an edge loop, set it to 1, turn autocomplete on, drop it here. I'm going to drop 1 here as well, like this, just to keep it nice and consistent. Now that we've cleaned this up, it's all quads, we can finish this. Okay, so this happened, that's okay. That's because our object pivot was below, because it was in the center of a cylinder. So I'm just going to snap these. So I'm going to hold Control Shift, right click, make sure keep spacing is off, and I'm in the world space. I can select the vertices that aren't lined up here, like this. Grab the up arrow, the Y, and just hold V and middle mouse drag it up. There we go. I'm going to go into object mode, Control D, then rotate 90 degrees, and Shift D, Shift D, Shift D. Then I'm going to combine. Where is it? There it is. Merge. I press 3 to preview, make sure everything merged correctly. And clear history. Okay, there we go. So now we have basically our Phillips head, and we have the geometry here that we can extrude now. So if we extrude this down, you can see it gives us a nice clean cut. But I'm not going to do that yet, because first I want to add some curvature to this. And I'm going to center the pivot. Now to add some curvature to this, I'm going to use the wave. Now if you want to be really precise, I'll show you how to use the wave for that. So first I'm going to click the wave on our object, and it just makes this little circle that we saw on the plane. And if we increase the amplitude, you can see what it does. And it makes kind of a wave, but we don't want that. We're going to increase the wavelength really high, where we only see the bell part of the curve. We don't see the whole wave. And then I'm going to reverse the amplitude, actually put the amplitude in the positive, which will give us this. Now I'm not done yet. I'm going to clear history, get rid of that wave, and now I'm going to use something called a lattice. I use lattice in modeling all the time, so I'm going to go in, create lattice. There it is. Now by default, if I create the lattice, it's going to look like this. Reset settings. So what we can do is set this to 2, turn off local mode, click apply, and this will make a lattice that can deform our object differently in a more organic way. So let me show you. So if I do this, see how it basically makes a soft transformation of our object. Now if we are not set to local, if I go into the lattice here, so let me undo that quick. I'm going to delete this lattice and create a new lattice. I'm going to turn on use local mode, click apply. So now if I add a division and then move it, see what it does? It doesn't do there's no fall off. So we want to fall off, that's why we turn off local mode, click apply. I'm going to add a loop, add a division this way in T, and then I'm going to create a circle like this. And I'm going to use this just as a guide. So I'm going to place it like that. This would basically show me what I need to do with this lattice to make this round. And I'm going to take the top of this lattice, drag it down to the top of this circle like this, and then all I need to do is just drag this up and down until I match the curvature. Delete history, select the circle here, delete it. We're going to soften our normals. And now we're ready to extrude. Now I'm going to select the interior faces here, and I'm holding Control Shift to add to selection, and then I'm going to extrude like that. Now, you used to be able to scale through, but it's not letting us do that right now. So what we're going to do is create a lattice, and I'm going to select the bottom lattice point and move them up, and create this kind of shape for a screwdriver. Go to object mode, delete history, and then we'll add a bevel right here. Oops, I missed. Like that. And there it is. And the rest is pretty easy. Double click this edge, go from the side view, extrude down, extrude in, extrude down, scale this in, and then if we add some bevels to preserve the shape when we subdivide, there we go. So it's pretty simple when you're using the deformers here. Okay, so that's it. If you have any comments, leave them below, and if you have any suggestions, same thing, and hit like. Thank you.